Hey guys, I'm Marlene and welcome back to my channel. So my debut novel, a dark political fantasy adventure for adults, releases tomorrow and I am super excited about that, the 25th of May. I'll be reading you an extract from To Wear a Crown today. To Wear a Crown is available for pre-order and tomorrow it will be available. You can still enter the pre-order giveaway for one day only, with a link in the description box below. You will then receive the first 3 chapters of To Wear a Crown to your inbox, and you can also win one of 3 grand prizes consisting of a signed paperback copy of To Wear a Crown, a character art print, and one of 3 To Wear a Crown bookmarks. So be sure to enter that today still, otherwise you're going to miss out on being able to win one of those prizes. So now, without further ado, let's get into the extract.
Staella, sprinting after Saul and with the larger part of the city guard behind her, reached the scene of the fray moments later. She hadn't been to the Rooks in years, and wasn't this quite a way to return, an army at her back and a sword clutched in her hand. The hideout in question was no longer a driftwood shack near the edge of the city, but a raging inferno, a beast that breathed smoke in loud gusts and devoured the house with its tongues. Soot-stained women and children fled with leaking eyes and sleeves pulled over their faces. Staella saw a young girl dash out through a crumbling side door. She was clutching a baby to her chest as she dived down an alley. She wailed, coughed, and sank down against a wall. Staella looked away. Not far from the entrance, the rebels who were able to fight did so unyieldingly. There were so many of them, a horde to double Caven's guards, who were desperately defending themselves on 3 sides. Noticing the arrival of reinforcements, Marin knocked down the teenage boy in front of him with a blow to the jaw and ran to meet his commander. The next few moments, Staella experienced almost in slow motion. She saw the rebel at the deputy's back leap forward, hatchet raised as he closed in. The man's face was weathered by suffering and sun, his snarl missing more teeth than it had. He was angry. He was miserable. Catching up to his target, he bore his weapon down. She wondered what sound the blade would make as it lodged into Caven's skull. Will it be a crunch, a crack, or perhaps something wetter, stickier? The rebel froze, let the hatchet tumble to the ground. He looked down, gaping at the javelin that had skewered him from behind. Blood gurgled from his mouth. He coughed and sank to his knees, died. Time sped up again, and Staella had to force her breath into her lungs, had to swallow down the bile that rose in her throat while blinking away tears. Death-spared Caven was in front of them, a gash across his left eyebrow leaking crimson drops into his eye. Saul grasped his arm, seemed much too calm for the situation. "Caven, are you all right?" Marin nodded and grinned. "Yes, my lord, just a nasty hag with a cleaver." He motioned to what was left of the building. It was one of the headquarters. It had inventories, letters, everything we needed, but the bastards burned it down before we could get in, attacked us like a legion of undercreatures. We've lost 2 men, 4 were injured badly, but we got them out with O'Brien. Saul nodded. "You did well." He turned to the men behind him, transformed from friend to commander in a heartbeat. "Cage formations! Cage formations!" Staella's training with the guards kicked in, and she moved with them, finding herself in the second row of a block of a fence that was 5 men wide and 20 men deep. Greg was next to her, gave her a reassuring nod. "Shields!" Saul ordered from her left. On the outside of the block, shields the size of carriage wheels were raised, the 3rd row on every side lifting theirs to the sky. The shell was complete. They were a single, impenetrable monster. She knew this maneuver, knew how this clash would end. Caven's men scattered at the sight of the formation, because they knew too. The monster marched into the plebeian group without making a single move to attack. Thumping, hacking sounds struck at the shields around Staella, but the shell was impenetrable. They continued forward, then stopped. It was dark within the monster. The sounds of rebels screaming, growling, clawing, coming from all around it. Suddenly there was a slip of light as the shield above her shifted. A girl's face appeared there, beaten purple. She tried to tear into the block of guards, a crying snarl ripping from her throat. Her blue eyes met Staella's, wide and wild and pleading. Staella opened her mouth, found no words, no help within herself. The shield jutted into place, hitting the girl against the forehead. It was dark again. A lump settled in Staella's throat, a deadness in her limbs. But she had no time to think about her actions as Saul shouted, "Now!" She moved with the monster. The block came loose into a single-file circle within seconds as the guards moved with practiced precision. As planned, the ring was opened at 4 points, and, fueled by rage, the rebels poured inside, screaming victory. "Staella, I can't." "Close and turn!" came the dooming command. The circle closed, the guards turned inward, and there was the enemy, ringed in by armed fighters with no way to escape. It was like being in the cage, only 1,000 times worse. A final order. "Attack!" Her first opponent was on her, a colossal man with a black beard who'd clearly pegged her as an easy target. He wielded an axe, a big beauty with a polished hail-tail shaft. He swung his weapon forward in a powerful arc, and Staella ducked. The tightness in her stomach eased. Her heart pumped pure adrenaline, and the instincts of battle took over. With a familiar exhilaration, she slashed out, blocked, sidestepped, stabbed. The next adversary had impressive hunting knives dripping with blood. Her lips curled into a snarl. Blades met sword. Somewhere her body screamed with pain. She leapt forward, slipped underneath, and struck. Next challenger, she lashed out with her fist. Parry, block, strike, another enemy. Next, duck, kick, hit the ground, roll over, up, slice, next. She was a weapon come to life, a mindless force of destruction. The world rippled with energy, the sounds of dying men a distant roar in her ears. She was good at this. She could do this. A glint in the corner of her gaze caught her attention. A woman bellowing, her sword aimed at her eye, inches away and coming closer. Staella's body froze. There was no time to dodge, no time to outmaneuver. All she could do was watch as that sword neared. Everything but that imminent death was a blur. She noticed how the light flickered on the blade, the spots of scarlet that littered it, the golden pommel. A golden pommel? A cry ripped her from her trance. She didn't have time to scream as a body was thrown between her and the fatal blow. The man landed at her feet, that beautiful sword buried in his chest. Greg. His hazel eyes stared up at her, lifeless. The man she trained with every day. The friend who'd never done anything but praise and accept her. And now he died for her. An inhuman growl tore from her, and she was the jackal again. The fear in the woman's eyes was nothing to her. She broke her neck in one swift twist. Next enemy, next, next. Until she found herself faced with an old man whose ornamental staff had been shattered by the battle. He was bent and shaking, but he stood his ground, stared down the girl who'd so brutally killed his companions. She met his eyes, golden and wise and brimming with a calm sort of panic. Staella stopped. She lowered her weapon, felt the air whoosh out of her. She shook her head. "Stop!" she heard herself scream. "Stop!" No one listened. She spotted Saul to her right and dashed to tug at his arm. He spun to face her, eyes murderous. Recognizing her, his gaze softened. "Thanos, what is it? Are you okay?" "We have to stop. We've won. We don't need to keep killing them." His brows knotted into a scowl. "You have to speak his language, Staella." She took a deep breath and straightened. "If you kill them, you lose all the information they have as well." He hesitated, but nodded eventually. The order was bellowed, and the killing stopped. Rounding up the remaining rebels didn't take long. They were tired, wounded, and diminished in size. Staella started towards where her cluster was getting into formation, when someone pulled at her sleeve. She turned, found the old man. He didn't say anything. He just looked at her with those golden eyes, and she nodded.